Hello and welcome to another video from fasimplymk. My name is Mladen and today we're gonna be watching a video from the channel called Cold Case Christianity, and the title of the video is Why Jesus Came 2000 years ago and not today. Why didn't Jesus come today when we have so many smartphones around and we could just record everything that's happening and we could just have so much evidence around Christ and what he actually did for us? The truth of the matter is, I'm also wondering why he came 2000 years ago and not today. Because today we would have like live broadcasts and live streaming and all kinds of ways to showcase that Jesus is real. But he must have had a reason for it, and I'm interested to see what the idea is behind Cold Case Christianity, what they're gonna say about this. So without further ado, let's get right into it.
So we have a crime scene here, and we want to know what happened there. Why did it happen there? It could have happened anywhere in the timeline. It could have happened over here. It could have happened over there. Why did the crime happen when it happened? Is it possible that there's something about the timing of the crime that might give away who did the crime? Yeah. Because it could have happened anywhere on the timeline, but it happened instead on that little blue spot. Does the timing identify the killer? So let me show you what we're trying to do here is basically look at this and ask the question, here's your timeline. So the question is, why did this happen, where it happened, and why did this happen when it happened? So let me give you the actual crime that I described in our book, which is a case we had a number of years ago where a woman was killed, went missing. We never found her body, went missing in May of 2000. Okay, so she vanishes. There's a big bomb that goes off on the day she vanishes, and there's a bunch of evidence that occurs in that fuse. I'm just going to put it all on the screen right now. Now, I want you to watch what we're about to do. So in order for this to go off right here, in order for this crime to occur in our city in May of 2000, well, it turned out that crime would never have occurred in our city except that this couple moved into our city, Steve and Tammy. So Steve and Tammy move into our city. Crime's not going to occur in our city until they get there. And the reason why they came was because he had a job. So he wasn't going to move into our city until that job appeared in the auto shop. The auto shop wasn't even there until January of 2000. So this crime could not occur until after, in our city anyway, until after January, because he didn't even live in our city until then. Then they got to move in. So now it turns out there's a red zone in which the crime can occur in our city. It's right there. Do you see it? That's the red zone. It's only going to occur in our city at that point because now they're in our city at that point. Now there's more. Let's go ahead and do another overlay. It turns out he borrowed a tub which he used with acid to get rid of her body, from a friend. Now that friend got the tub from one of his employer. Well, the employer gave him the tub in 1999, and he gave the tub to my killer over here. So now, in order to use the tub to commit this, and that's what we think she got rid of in the tub, to do that, to do the murder in our city, and use the tub to dispose of the body, the crime has to occur here. Red zone's shorter, it's smaller. Other stuff happened though as well. It turns out he bought acid in order to do this job. That acid was not available in our city until that business appeared in our city. And after that business appeared in our city, he actually bought the acid. So in order for that crime to occur the way it did in our city and him to use acid to destroy her in the tub, red zone, it's smaller. Got it so far? Okay. There's more. Now, it turns out, it's a little bit off the screen, just forgive me on that, but it turns out that in November, she was due to have a baby, and nobody knew she was pregnant, was going to have a baby, except for him. She had not told anybody. He did not want another baby. He already had one with a different woman. He did not want that baby to be born. That baby was going to be born in November, but worse than that, so that actually puts a cap on that end. If he wants to get rid of her before the baby's born, he's got to kill her before November.
I think I see where he is going with this. Essentially, he's gonna say why the crime happened, when it happened, with all these clues pointing towards the point of where the crime is actually happening. I think he's gonna apply the same rules for the when Christ is coming and why Christ had to come when he did. I'm truly wondering what these reasons are, and I cannot wait to see what he's gonna say about that. But before we get into that, let me know what you think. Why did Christ come when he did? Why didn't he come today when we have, so many smartphones around and so many video cameras and cameras in general? Just tell me what you think is the reason for Christ coming 2000 years ago and not today. I already said some of the reasons that I think maybe it would be better if he came today, but I think that God has a perfect plan, and for a reason he appeared when he did. Our human minds are just simply so limited that we cannot understand his ways, and his ways are higher than our ways. We have to remember that. So let's see what Cold Case Christianity has to say about the timing for Christ.
But he actually wants to kill her before that, because he wants to kill her before she even starts showing. And then she says she's going to go tell her parents about it and fly to her parents' house. Well, he wants to get that done before she tells her parents about it. Now we've got end caps to the time zone. Do you see the difference? Now where's our red zone? Right there. Oh, and when did she go missing? Right there. The red zone tells us something about who did this, because that red zone is specific to my killer. Does that make sense? Now, this is the part that I did not see coming as I was researching this book, but I just want you to see what I discovered. Let's take a look at the fuses that burn up to the appearance of Jesus. So I want to imagine, first of all, I'm going to place all of the deities, the myths that appear in history prior to Jesus, I'm going to place them on this line, and I'm going to start and show you where the mythology is first worshipped and when they stopped worshiping it, okay? We know that from history, when these deities were first worshipped and when they ended it. And I'm going to put all of them on the screen for you here.
Okay, so essentially what this means is that all the deities need to be presented and worshipped in the period when Christ appears, because deities have been worshipped for a very long time and people have been seeking God for a very long time as well. So I'm wondering, when is it going to be the perfect time for God to appear? Obviously, we know the answer 2000 years ago, when most of the faiths were already spread out throughout the world and most people already had some kind of belief systems. So let's see when this is going to be presented in this timeline.
So here we are. You can see them building. All of these ancient myths from all over the world, from the east to the west to Persia to Greece, all of these are now on the screen. And you can see them all overlapped. Why am I showing you this? Well, if God wanted to appear at a time in history when the most number of these myths were still being worshipped, so that there were people on planet Earth who shared these common expectations, and the highest number of people on planet Earth who shared these common expectations of deity, he would have to come when the most number of gods are still being concurrently worshipped. Are we clear? That means that this is my red zone. That's when he has to appear if he wants to meet their expectations. But I didn't talk to you about two of the other strands of the fuse. Let me go over them very briefly with you right now. There is a cultural fuse. If God wants to come at a time when the world was aligned to spread the message of Jesus, he would have been wise to come during the Roman Empire, because it turns out that it was the Romans who controlled the region starting at a certain point in history. It was the Romans who then advanced the Etruscan alphabet that started in Italy and became the alphabet of the empire. They also perfected a certain form of Greek that was used throughout the empire. They also built the most sophisticated roads. All the roads that Paul traveled on would not have been available to him 200 years earlier, but they were available to him now because this road system was in place because of Rome. Not only that, they now have a mail service in place, and there was a period of dominance and world peace called the Pax Romana, 200 years of peace. And that peace meant they could spend the money on roads rather than on war. And it also meant that ideas could travel during this peacetime, a small window of peace. So the message of God, now look at your red zone.
What he's saying here makes a lot of sense. You would want to spread your message when there's a time of peace, when there's no war, where there's actual people listening and sharing messages and stories without, killing each other. We also need to remember that God's timing is perfect and he is very patient. So for some reason he had wanted to spread the message at the specific time when he did. So this in general makes a lot of sense. Let's see what else they have put here, because now we are really narrowing the gap where Christ could come, and we know he came during the Roman time, which makes everything coming to a close together.
Oh, but there's more. There's a prophetic fuse, because the Jews were prophesying about this. I won't go through all the prophecies, but you know from Jack, because Jack's an expert in prophecy, you know that there's one of these prophecies from Daniel is perhaps the most telling, because Daniel says that this Messiah will have to appear sometime after the decree to rebuild Jerusalem and the destruction of the temple. Well, we have a good idea of when those dates are. And Daniel says that this is when the Messiah is going to come. Look at your red zone now. If I didn't know anything about history or about Jesus, I would know that something is going to happen right here. It just so turns out that something does happen right here that splits your calendar right in half. There's a red zone. Is it specific to a person? That's the question. A person of interest.
Alright, so we're coming to the most important point in history, when the time split in half. When we have time before Christ and time after Christ. He came at the perfect time because he had to have come when most people believed in as many gods as possible. So the point about 2000 years ago is the point where the most deities were present in the history. That makes a lot of sense. Then we have the second point where God had to have come during the time of peace, when the message could be spread while there's peace going around, which makes a lot of sense as well. And then if we take the predictions from Jewish scholars and Jewish prophets, we know that the timing is perfect because the prophecies were fulfilled. God did come at perfect time after all. We know this to be true due to eyewitnesses and the way that the message was spread during that time. We have over 5,800 manuscripts regarding Jesus, and the more evidence that you look up at, the more you're gonna be convinced that Jesus is real and he did die and rose again 2000 years ago. Just imagine how important this figure is for the time to be split in half in his name. We know that there is a time before Christ and after Christ because he came at that time. That's how important he is. And we have to understand that the new covenant is happening at this very moment. 2000 years later, we are still in the new covenant where he is trying to gather as many souls as possible into heaven. So, Christians of the world, are you convinced yet? Does it make sense that God came 2000 years ago rather than today? I mean, we have Sora today, an AI which creates and makes anything possible with the video. So all the videos regarding Christ we could deem as fake, because who would believe the video today? I would much rather have the time to be 2000 years ago when eyewitnesses were true to their words and most people were honest people back in the day. So 2000 years ago makes so much more sense to me now than ever before. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one. Ciao!